Hello, San Francisco, and welcome once again to the Angelic Troublemakers. I'm your host, Alan Jones, and on today's program, Why I Left My Heart in Oakland. I'm bringing you this program today based on the fact that I truly believe that people need to rise up, and if they love their city, San Francisco, as I do, um, we need to uh, really come forth and say, San Francisco, you're not right. And I'm troubled by the fact that a lot of people are not uh, speaking up loud enough. And even if they do, they're being silenced by forces who are in public elected positions and businesses that are keeping uh, black people mainly in a marginalized state. Now, a lot of people they say, "Well, we got a black mayor. What more do you want?" I'd rather have a white mayor and equality towards blacks than a black mayor and inequality towards blacks. But why I left my heart in Oakland has to do with the Golden State Warriors uh, coming to San Francisco. I believe that it was a racist scam that I'm about to get into that San Franciscans should reject. Now, I must mention that why I left my heart in Oakland is basically a statement of San Francisco, you're better than that. And how I believe that San Francisco has treated our neighbor, Oakland. When you consider the fact that there's a scripture in the Bible that says, love thy neighbor as thyself. I say, I claim that my father taught me to love. San Francisco taught me to respect. And God taught me never give up. And with that in mind, I really want to express the fact that my appreciation for the city that I love the most, which is San Francisco, not that I've been to too many places. I used to live in Oregon, in Portland for a couple of years, but I've been San Francisco since 1960, though I've been born in Denver in 1956. But San Francisco taught me to respect. And I see where San Francisco is not practicing what it preaches, and it's very disturbing. Now, when you look at the fact that I created this website, one should ask, why would somebody create a website that says NBA doesn't care.com? Well, the issue is the fact that forces in San Francisco, elected officials, refuse to take me seriously, and they kept my message under wraps to where the NBA would never hear my message under normal circumstances. When you are a individual who puts up a ballot measure, you're supposed to get print media attention to find out what the measure is all about. Well, San Francisco did something that I think was so scandalous, and I'm mainly talking about the San Francisco Chronicle and the San Francisco Examiner, who basically uh, sabotaged my ballot measure. And my ballot measure was basically about San Francisco owes Oakland an apology. And so I'm going to describe by clicking on buttons on my new website, a couple of months old, to let people know what exactly it is that I am fighting for again, in a way to get people to stand up. And if they really don't like racism, let your voice be heard, because the warriors, who are probably 85% complete on their new arena here, should not be allowed to play in San Francisco based on how San Francisco wooed, stole, snatched the warriors from Oakland. If you press on my About button, you're going to find, I guess, that it basically talks about a story that I call Hood Robin. We've all heard the term Robin Hood. We all know that it's a mythical story on how Robin Hood and his merry men were alleged to have stolen from the rich to give to the poor. Well, what I claim happened with the Warriors Arena issue is the reverse, where the late Mayor Ed Lee was, with his help from City Hall, stealing from the poor to give to the rich. Now, sorry you can't see his total illustration here, but that's Ed Lee carrying Oracle across to San Francisco to Chase Center. And this about, what is this all about? It's about San Francisco, which has a $10 billion a year tourism industry, taking from Oakland, that has an $800 million a year tourism industry, just to make itself look better. Well, that's not how you treat your neighbor. And my slogan in my failed ballot measure attempt was, a world-class city helps its neighbors. It does not help itself to its neighbors' jewels. But if you go to goodneighborcoalition.com and you push on the mission statement, you'll find that I say Oakland is Warriors' ground. And I know people think that I'm crazy, but to put it bluntly, San Francisco is unfit to be home to an NBA franchise when you consider the racism that is going on in San Francisco. But the NBA does not know this. And San Francisco is not going to tell on itself that it's racist. And the print media, which wants the Warriors to come here, of course, they're not going to say there's a guy who's trying to keep the Warriors in San Francisco. This is a $1 billion project. But I am not bothered by the forces that are against me. I'm determined to get my message across. If you look in the center and you click on what I call Black Lives Don't Matter, it will bring you to stories that I have compiled where San Francisco has, in many situations, discriminated against members of the black community, which makes them ineligible to be a home for the NBA Golden State Warriors. If you notice on the right, that is San Francisco Supervisor Aaron Peskin. If you click on that, you'll find a story where I say Aaron Peskin ripping off Oakland is the title, where I show Aaron Peskin in a San Francisco Chronicle, a San Francisco Examiner article. He has said that San Francisco was done ripping off our neighbor, Oakland. Is that not a admission of guilt? That's down here. If you notice where it says done ripping off Oakland, that's where the story in the San Francisco Examiner is quoted. Now, that's just in the Black Lives Don't Matter section. If you go over to the hot links, the far right, and you press on that, you'll get some interesting stories. And they're basically the latest news that I have put together. On the left, LGBT stands for spoiled rotten and comes with benefits. This is an incredible story on how San Francisco is treating the LGBTQ community in a way that it is far superior to how it is treating the black community. Now, for people to think, well, we want equality, that's my point. Treat them the same. On the right, I have a white power at its best is hope for all black Americans post. And in this story, it's about an NBA player who realized he needs to step up. And he tells a beautiful story on how he needs to support his black brothers. And I'm saying that it's an incredible story that really hits the nail on the head. Then we have all kind of other stories that have to do with slights against black people. Notice I got 3 blind mice of the NBA down there. Well, who are those 3 blind mice? I think you should check it out. 98,000 San Franciscans voted in support of my measure where San Francisco would apologize to our neighbor, Oakland, based on the fact that I say San Francisco owed Oakland an apology. This apology was supported by 98,000 San Franciscans. Now, I say that there was about a difference of 16,000 votes where my apology was not, did not win. It lost by 30,000 votes. But I'm saying if there was 16,000 that voted more, then there would have been 16,000 less on the other side. But here's the deal. I am trying to get people to realize that 98,000 people apologized to Oakland, California for how our government in San Francisco treated our neighbor. But it's being silenced. When I say the 16,000 people who could have voted the other way and would have voted the other way is if they had not listened to the advice of the San Francisco Chronicle or the San Francisco Examiner in their recommendations on the ballot measure. Now, I'm not going to go into all of that, but I will say that because I lost, I feel bad because I'm not able to tell the people of Oakland and 98,000 of me's are not able to tell the city of Oakland we are sorry about how our government treated you, our neighbor. And this is critical. I am determined, but I am also admittedly frustrated because it seems that no one cares that 98,000 people wanted to apologize or voice their apology in vote to a neighbor. And in doing so, in not doing this, I'm saying that San Francisco really looks bad. Now I'm going to go back to good old Aaron Peskin, and I want to show you, hopefully it'll come up, the 500-word ballot measure. Let's see. This is the ballot measure that I wrote, submitted to San Francisco, and the Department of Elections approved and gave me permission to collect signatures on. Me and my Good Neighbor Coalition, which is now disbanded, we put together a Thou Shalt Not Covet ballot measure that was changed by charter to read relocation of professional sports teams. At the end, which I will admit was probably a mistake, we should have had it at the beginning, there's a sentence. And in the sentence, it basically tells that San Francisco should take a stand against any professional sports team trying to walk out on a public debt. Did you know that the Golden State Warriors were trying to walk out on a $40 million public debt to Oakland? They tried. And that's why I put it in this measure, that San Francisco should take a stand against anybody that tries, any billionaires, sports team owners, from trying to walk out on a public debt. You want to leave, I get that. If you want to leave, pay your debt, then leave. But no, The Golden State Warriors wanted to try and walk out on a debt. Well, an arbitration judge saw right through this. And in seeing right through this, was not going to have any of it. And therefore, it was not successful. So, to have this situation where you have to go to court, to make somebody do something that they are supposed to do, that's bad. But I thought putting it in a ballot measure, San Francisco would be taking a stand for future issues. Not just San Francisco, any city. But didn't work. Now, I don't know how that, came about, but top San Francisco elected officials voted not to take a stand against billionaires who try and walk out on the debt. Now, you talk about some silly mess. And the San Francisco Chronicle, they followed it up by saying, vote no on my ballot measure. This will not do. And because they tried, I'm trying all the more harder to get my point across. I believe that San Francisco rising up and Oakland rising up, still even at this late stage, will keep the Golden State Warriors in Oakland. I know you think, wait a minute, Alan, this arena is nearly complete. They even have the schedules of opening concerts that are going to be starting in a few months. Well, I'm not against that. I'm against the Warriors moving into that arena. And I believe that based on the information that is contained in Good Neighbor Coalition, in my new website, NBADoesn'tCare.com, that people will see that San Francisco does not deserve an NBA franchise. And I know it's tough, but here's the problem. Even if, now don't get me wrong, I say the Golden State Warriors will never move into that arena. But even if they do, I'm saying that I'm going to continue to press to the NBA this issue and make them act. Keep in mind, the NBA has taken a stand against racism and discrimination. The precedents that the NBA commissioner Adam Silver set was that when he forced the sale of the Los Angeles Clippers by its former owner, Donald Sterling, he says we cannot be associated with racism. And the racist acts by that former owner forced the sale. Sold the team for $1.5 billion more than it was valued. Sold a valued $450 million NBA franchise for $2 billion. That sale rose dramatically the value of every NBA team and probably every sports franchise. But what did it do for racism? It didn't move the needle one bit. And I'm saying, NBA, you have increased your value by taking a stand against racism. And now that San Francisco is doing something, taking from a neighboring black community to make itself look better, is a racist act, and you should take a stand against it also. Then there's the fact that in the 2017 NBA All-Star Game, which was scheduled to be played in the state of North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, actually, Adam Silver, the commissioner, got wind of a law that the NBA determined was discriminatory against the LGBTQ community. And the commissioner had tried to work with the state. Back off on this law, or we're going to have to take the All-Star Game out of the city or out of the state. Well, the state legislature in North Carolina said, we don't care, take it. So the NBA moved the 2017 NBA All-Star Game out of North Carolina. It was played in Louisiana, New Orleans. Well, what happened? Well, though it wasn't to my liking, the NBA decided that North Carolina, which did modify its law that was discriminatory to transgender individuals, they modified it enough to where this year's 2019 NBA All-Star Game was held in North Carolina. So the NBA had promised that, hey, you modify this law, we're not going to forever punish you. We will come back here, but we can't do it under these circumstances. So the power of the NBA, which is 75% black players, they can do more to push back those racist and discriminatory practices of different governments. But will they? They can only do it if they know about it. And I believe that Adam Silver does not know of the racist acts, egregious racist acts of San Francisco. And I'm saying that because not enough people are speaking up, he has no reason to act. But if people speak up, actions will happen. I believe that the reason we should take our hearts out of San Francisco is its racist practices against our neighbor. But San Francisco taught me to respect. And I respect myself enough that I'm not going to lay down on this issue, because San Francisco taught me to respect, and I'm going to insist that San Francisco respects its neighbor. And I have promised in my on my NBA.com, NBAdoesn'tcare.com website that the owners of the Golden State Warriors will not lose $1 by being pushed back into Oakland and not allowed to play or to move their home to San Francisco. That's a promise. And God's going to hold me to that promise. So, until next time, I left my heart in Oakland.